Head. Watch out, don't step on stuff.
Yes.
Oh, it's ice cold. And wet too. Okay. Nice kirtan? I remember when Krishna Kirtan was very young and his father was playing harmonium, and Krishna Kirtan was one of those kids that he was smaller than the mridanga, and he would try to reach his arms out as far as he could and play mridanga as a little boy. And he kept playing mridanga and kept playing mridanga, and he grew up. Probably plays mridanga in his sleep. Now there's some sound. Do you know what that sound is? Prasanatman, you know what that sound is? Chainsaw. Okay. Okay, we'll just tolerate. Just part of them. They're chanting Om, they just don't know it. And those of you that have not had the experience of being in Vrindavan with Indra Prabhu leading the 24-hour kirtan program, you just heard a rerun or a echo of the melody and everything that Govinda just did was assimilation of Indra's kirtan. I mean, I could hear Indra's voice from his voice. So we're in good company tonight. Some of you probably like reading Prabhupada's books. And if you're not there yet, please get there, because it's so much to learn. And the title of this evening's discussion comes from chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 13 is the beginning of the final section of Bhagavad Gita in 6, 6, and 6 makes 18. 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. Shh. The final 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita are Sankhya section, matter and spirit. Matter and spirit. Matter and spirit. The first chapter of that final 6 is Arjuna asking, what's matter and spirit? What's matter and spirit? What's matter and spirit? Because that's Sankhya. So he asked it differently. What's Prakriti and Purusha? Jnanam and Gyayam? And the field of activities, Kshatragya, Kshetra and Kshetragya, matter and spirit, in 6 different versions. The one that Krishna chooses to respond to first is knowledge, and then is the object of knowledge. So we know the object of knowledge is Krishna. That's in the spirit side. And on the knowledge side, Krishna gives a list of items of knowledge. The first on the list of items of knowledge is this. Amanitvam adambitvam, humility and pridelessness. Because it's not characteristic of someone who has knowledge to be proud, or it's an essential element for one who has knowledge to have humility and pridelessness. Humility and pridelessness. So I chose the title, Nemesis of Humility, because there's a nice dictionary definition of what nemesis means. The inescapable agent of someone's downfall. Wow. Between the child and the chainsaw, it's interesting. Hare Krishna. Okay. Inescapable agent of someone's downfall. So they're connected. Pride and humility. We'll see as we go along. But humility is how we think of ourselves, and pride has something to do with mine. I, aham, that's my thinking of myself. So a person in the spiritual conception of self doesn't think in terms of the body, they think in terms of the soul. And the soul is very tiny. We're all very tiny. Very, very tiny. And mine is what is created from what I think is me. So if I think I'm this body, then what's mine? Stuff generated from the body. The product of my work. The fruits of my work, that's mine. Or children, the fruits of the body, that's mine. My house, my bank balance, my car, my credit cards, my debts, it comes from me. So I and mine. And the idea of spiritual consciousness is to become free from both. But not to become zero, but have a spiritual conception of both. To have a spiritual conception of both, one has to become freed from false pride, and instead replace that with true identity, true self. And then what's mine is not what comes from this body, but the one thing that's mine. It's a very nice discussion. Some of you like reading Prabhupada's books. The nice discussion is, on the spiritual conception, there's only one thing that's mine, and that's my relationship with Krishna. And that's something that can't, as the soul can't be taken from me, that which is mine can't be taken from me. Or take it even further. In Rupa Goswami's teachings of the highest stages of bhakti, it's mamata. Krishna, I am yours. Possessiveness, mamata. Krishna, I am yours and you are mine. So that's where this discussion is headed. And there's some obstacles to get there. And here's one of those obstacles to get there. It's pride. And even when someone is reaching to help us become freed from that burden of pride, sometimes we hang on to pride because of the bodily conception and the nemesis of pride, humility, false pride. Something that I've learned from scripture and from practical experience, and that is, when there's pride, two things, pride and envy, are capable of destroying everything good. So this is my little, beware of the beast named pride. Because if there's a sense of accomplishment, and I become proud of that accomplishment, consciousness becomes colored or covered, or higher consciousness becomes stolen by pride. And all other good qualities similarly are stolen by pride, destroyed. I've already said it, here it is again. Pride is the mind portion of the material I and mind conception. Aham, it is the couplet in Vedic text. Aham mameti, the conception of I and this conception of mama or mine. And material consciousness looks one way and spiritual consciousness looks a different way. It's all traditions. Here's a classic from the Bible. Pride goeth before the fall. Book of Proverbs. It's a proverb. Pride goeth before the fall. It's not only Vedic, it's just a principle of life. And where does pride come from? From where does it arise? So I have this nice little saying. What is generated from the body, the misconception of self is the body or the mind. So the fruits of piety, supposing people, I was discussing yesterday evening about visiting in Singapore with, and I was invited to speak with a group of very wealthy people. They called their group the Artha Forum. Artha means economic development. I was listening to a recorded class this morning. Prabhupada stopped the class and just said 2 words, child out. And they did it. So, fruits of piety. Dharma, commonly, not everywhere, but commonly, persons engage in piety with an expectation. They're going to get something good as a fruit of their piety. Queen Kunti speaks of that, right? Janma, Aishvarya, Shruta, and Shri, these 4. Good birth, opulence, wealth, beauty, and good education. That's 5, that's 4. Janma, Aishvarya, Shruta, Shri. Edamanamanak Puman makes people mad, chasing after the fruits of piety. So, but people do it. Some people do it. Some people don't care about piety. They care about the fruits, but they don't care about the means to get the fruits. So that's an interesting tree. Never seen a tree like that, with so many different kinds of fruits in one tree. But when that fruits of piety come to a person whose heart is not pure, what do you get? Pride. It's all about, I'm the one that has this fruits of piety, and that heart that's impure takes that fruit and thinks too much of oneself. And they look down upon those that don't have the same fruits. This is when I spent last 2 days, whatever discretionary time I had, preparing for my next visit here, the Thanksgiving holiday, and presenting Madhurya Kandambani. If those of you that don't know what that book is, it's a book written by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, giving details and details, nice explanation of a prior writing of Rupa Goswami. Because chronologically before Vishwanath was Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami received teachings directly from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the science of bhakti, and then wrote his books, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Principle. And in that Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there's a description of 9 stages of bhakti. Starts in Shraddha and ends in Prema. And this is discussed in his book, The Sources of Pride. That's the blocks bhakti. And in addition, there may be very elevated Vaishnavas. Their hearts aren't exactly impure, but they engage in bhakti and they become a little successful in bhakti. Sometimes. Sometimes people don't become so. But if they become a little successful, then people say something like, "Oh, Govinda, you led such a nice kirtan." Or whoever's preparing the prasadam was really fantastic. or somebody organized a nice festival. Oh, you organized a nice festival. Oh, you painted a nice painting. Oh, you danced very nicely. Or you conducted a drama very nicely. Your Sunday school teacher, you're excellent. Pat on the back. And someone thinks, at last somebody's recognizing. Labha puja pratishta. Profit, adoration, distinction. That's also a source of pride. If the heart is impure, then one may want to become the enjoyer of that, some recognition, some position, some title. It's really nice. Just today, there was somebody who visited the temple on his birthday. I forget what his title is. What was his title? What was his title? Consulate General. You know what the Consulate General is? The representative of India, because he's an Indian gentleman, and he came to the temple on his birthday. He's been involved in the Consulate General's office for 20 years, and he started when he was 26. And he came to the temple on his birthday. Like, fantastic, huh? To see the deities, and he has some affinity for bhakti. So he was getting gifts, and he was getting, some appreciation, etc., etc. He helped this person in this circumstance, and that person in that circumstance, and he personally helped devotees without. So I was watching what's happening inside him. Is he getting, profit, adoration, distinction, or is he was very transparent. I mean, I said it 4 times. He's a VIP, and he's coming to the temple to see the deities on his birthday. He didn't come to get gifts and pats on the back. He's an interesting person. Now, it's easy when you have a title, Consulate General, Director for the whole of Texas. And he's been here for 1 year. I understand they have a system. They only let people stay in one place for 2 years, and then move them because they might get, tangled. So, nice man. But it happens if you're a little successful, even materially, even spiritually. Profit, adoration, distinction. Some title, some reward, some gifts, something, some praise. So that's a second source of pride. Be a little successful, even spiritually. And when that success comes, it's one of the stages, we'll be discussing this over the Thanksgiving holiday, a stage of unsteady bhakti. It's a cause of unsteadiness in bhakti. Taranga Rangani, which means playing in the waves. Taranga Rangani, enjoying the waves of success in spiritual practice or spiritual life. Enjoying the facilities offered by bhakti. So what do you do when you don't be unsuccessful? You be successful. You do your service nicely. You lead the kirtan or organize the festival or dress the deity nicely or cook the nice feast or you do conduct a Sunday school, fantastic, etc., etc. But what happens when the praise comes? Little success in your bhakti life, what do you do? There's this teaching in Brahma Vaivarta Purana that says, Lord Krishna is never far from they who are humble. May many tall mountains stand between Lord Krishna and they who are proud. So you know the pastime when Krishna left the rasa dance because he detected the gopis were feeling, wow, we're so fortunate. Not like we're special and the other gopis aren't like us, but a little proud. So he just disappeared. And the painting shows he was watching to see what they're going to do. And they went mad. disappearing Krishna. So pride makes a mountain of obstacle between us and Krishna. In a similar reference, Brahma Vaivarta Purana again, the intelligent serve the Lord by remembrance. Those subject to pride do not attain the Lord, even though they may encounter him. There's many, many, many examples. One I like very much is the washerman. Again, those of you that like to read Prabhupada's books, you know when Krishna left Vrindavan, he was taken in Akrura's chariot to Mathura on an invitation from Kamsa to join a bow festival, but Kamsa's plan was to kill him. He sent so many demons, it didn't work, so he was going to personally arrange to kill him. But he had multiple layers of plans of how Krishna would be killed. So when Krishna entered Mathura, one person that he saw was a washerman. And the washerman was carrying a big bundle of laundry that had been washed for the king. So Krishna sent the cowherd boys to go ask the washerman for some nice garments, because they just had village garments. They should dress properly for entering into Mathura. And they asked him for the garments, and the washerman was very harsh. Do you know who these clothes belong to? If the king knew you were asking, you would be finished. Get out of here, and all kinds of things like that. So what did Krishna do? He didn't like the insulting of the cowherd boys. So he went up to the washerman, put the tips of his fingers underneath his chin, and separated the speaking part of his body from the rest of his body. And then he distributed the clothing to the cowherd boys. There they are, getting dressed nicely to enter into Mathura. Even he had direct encounter with Krishna, he didn't recognize Krishna. And similarly, another well-known pastime is Indra was a little upset, more than a little upset, that Krishna, talkative little Krishna, had Nanda stop an Indra Yagya in favor of worshipping Govardhan Hill. So he became angry. Although he saw Krishna, he got bewildered, and he caused this big inundation for 7 days, etc., etc. And finally he came when his pride, the obstacle was his pride. The reason for all of this pastime, one of the reasons, was to curb the pride of Indra. So there are many other purposes, but that was one of the purposes, and it was successful. Now here's Indra with Airavata behind him, offering prayers to Krishna, begging his forgiveness for his pride and his foolishness. There's another example. Again, this is Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. Persons that saw Krishna, but due to pride, they couldn't recognize him. There are brahmanas who are performing a yagya, Angirasa yagya, to gain promotion to heaven. So Krishna sent the cowherd boys to the brahmanas. On Krishna's behalf, Krishna's hungry. Oh, dear brahmanas, please give something to Krishna to eat. And what did they say? Nothing. They didn't even say anything. They just ignored them. Because they were proud. And they were proud because they weren't properly situated as Vaishnavas, because a Vaishnava must learn to become at least prideless. That's our topic. And so what did Krishna do? Then the boys came back, oh, they didn't even answer us. So Krishna said, very well, go to the wives of those brahmanas and make the same request, and immediately the wives of the brahmanas brought so many items for Krishna and Balaram, because Krishna's hungry. No problem. They brought items despite the fact that their husbands had no recognition of Krishna, they did, and they understood Krishna to be the essence of all the Vedas. And they were given the opportunity to serve him in that way. Now, I'm not sure, but somebody can probably remind me. Can you see the screen from where you're sitting over there? Would you like to see the screen? You might try sitting over there or over here, or does he need a special chair? Is he one of those needing a chair people? Okay, let's keep going. Last year, during the Thanksgiving holiday, to the best of my memory, I gave a seminar on Manashiksha. Yes? Yes or no? Manashiksha. Yes or no? Yes. Nice to see you. Huh? Light of the Bhagavad. Right. Okay. Somewhere else I did this. So here's Manashiksha. What's Manashiksha? Shiksha means instructions, and Mana means mind. It's a nice transcendental literature written by Raghunath Das Goswami. You see that because that's his name below the title of the book, and you also know what the pastime is. Manashiksha, written by Raghunath Goswami, is depicting him in his very humble way of eating. You know what he's eating? In this painting, there's some details because of time, I'm not going to go into the detail. He was from one of the wealthiest families, if not the wealthiest family in all of India at the time. Like super, super, super wealthy. Think of some wealthy people. Birla family, or this family, that family, the other family, and he was the only son of that family, and he left it all to become a mendicant. Details and details. This painting is showing his eating became reduced and reduced and reduced to the point where he went to the place by the side of the Jagannath Puri temple. The people that sell the prasadam of Jagannath from the prasadam stalls, when it spoils and becomes rotten and smelly, they take it to the side of the temple and place it where the cows are. And the cows may eat it. And sometimes they may not because it's too spoiled, too smelly. So he went to that place where even the cows wouldn't eat it, and he got a bunch of water and cleaned the outside of the rice, the smelly stuff, and the uncooked hard kernel inside became his food. It's not like he was poor, but that was his degree of renunciation. And his humility similarly. So you see on the screen, Sada Dambham Hitva. Sada means always. Hitva means give up. And Dambham means pride. It's a nice sound. Dambham. Sada Dambham Hitva. Give up pride. So here's a recording of the third verse of Manashiksha. No, this is the first verse. So the person reciting is Mukunda. Many of you know Mukunda from Naperville. And he also was learning to play mridanga when he was a little boy. And now he sings very nicely. So he's reciting the verse.
Sadadambam hitva kururatim apurvamaditaram aye svantar bratash chatubirabiyache dritapada.
And his good wife Shruti is going to recite the meaning, but there you see the colored letters, Sada Dambam Hitva.
O dear brother, O mind, having given up all pride, please develop unprecedented and excessive attachment to Sri Guru, to Sri Vrindavan, the abode of cows, to the devotee residents of Vrindavan, to all the devotees on this planet, to the confidential mantra given by Sri Guru, to the holy names of Sri Sri Radha Krishna, and to the process of surrendering to the fresh, youthful couple of Vraja. Holding your feet, I beseech you with sweet words.
So, Sada Dambam Hitva. He repeats the same theme again later in the book Manushiksha, but it's fundamental to go. This book Manushiksha is teaching in a simple way. It's teaching the process of spontaneous devotion, raga bhakti. So most of us are practicing to one degree or another Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, and Raghunath Das Goswami is explaining the stage beyond Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, where it's spontaneous bhakti, and this becoming free from pride is a starting point. Similarly, on the flip side, this is Bhaktivinoda Thakur in one of his writings on Sharanagati, or the writings of attaining spiritual perfection by surrender. And one of those 6 limbs of surrender is dainya, or humility. And he writes in his song, Amara Jivana, I am wrathful, devoted to false pride and arrogance, intoxicated by vanity. Now that's not his position, but he's writing like that. So it's a big obstacle. Pride is a big obstacle for spiritual progress. His son and Prabhupada's spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta, writes, to give up pride, the weeds that choke the creeper of devotion. And I like very much Prabhupada's statement, so we're just going into cyclic succession here. One who has a simple and grateful heart can easily enter the kingdom of God. And conversely, no entrance for those that don't have those two, simple and grateful heart. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is just examples of pride and pridelessness. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a whole section where Prajapati Daksha was entrusted with the service of being a Prajapati, meaning after Brahma created the whole universe, he had to populate the universe with different species and so forth. So Prajapati Daksha was one of the ones given that service, to be a Prajapati. And after 10,000 sons and 1,000 sons were engaged by Narada Muni in living in his brahmacharya ashram, Prajapati Daksha was very angry. And when Narada Muni visited him and told him the good news, guess what? Your sons joined the brahmacharya ashram. Aren't you happy? He wasn't happy at all. He cursed Narada. And similarly, being very proud, he offended Lord Shiva. And the result of his offending Lord Shiva, there's details, but Lord Shiva chopped his head. And when Lord Shiva chopped his head, there was a request, please give him another head. So he gave him a goat's head. And he getting a goat's head, he died of embarrassment because he was very beautiful, bodily features. One who has beautiful bodily features, if you get a goat's head, is too embarrassing. He gave up his life. He came back, I call it Daksha Part 2. Same pride. The pride didn't go away by suicide or by changing his head. It's because it's a consciousness factor. Or a well-known, another example is Durvasa Muni. Here's pride. Boy, was Durvasa Muni very, 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 that's 4 varies, powerful, mystical, but being a partial incarnation of Lord Shiva, he is also easily pleased and easily angered. And the painting here is showing he's getting very angry at the wrong person. This completely pure, untainted Vaishnava Maharaj Ambarish. You know the circumstance? The circumstance, for those of you that may not know the circumstance. Ambarish Maharaj was engaged in an extended fast for many, many, many days. Then at an appointed time he was going to break the fast. The purpose of the fast was the merit for that austerity would go to his citizens. He didn't need anything, but he was a king, emperor, and he wanted his citizens to gain the benefit of his austerities. So when it came time to break the fast, what happened? Durvasa Muni showed up. And as his cultured person, Ambarish said, very well, I'm supposed to break the fast, but you're the honored Brahmana visitor. You break the fast first, please. So Durvasa Muni said, sure, but before I eat, I must take my bath. So he went to the river to take his bath, and he took a long time because he says lots of prayers, and the time is running out to break the fast. So Ambarish asked his Brahmana ministers what to do. And they said a Brahminical thing. There's a way to break the fast and not break the fast. And that is, you just take some charnamrita, 3 sips of water that's from the washing of your deity, sip the water, and you're breaking the fast but not breaking the fast. Very clever. So that's what he did, under their advice. And when Durvasa Muni came back, the time for breaking the fast had passed, and he became very angry. You broke the fast first, I curse you. And so what he did was, by mantra, he took some hair from his head, dashed it to the ground with mantra, created a fiery demon, and as the painting shows, he's pointing to Maharaj Ambarish, telling the fiery demon, kill him. He broke the fast first. A little disproportionate, what to speak of the circumstance. So what happened was, as the painting shows, and the Bhagavatam tells, Maharaj Ambarish didn't raise his arms like something comes flying at you. You don't have to think about it, it's just reflex. His arms didn't move, his feet didn't move, his mind didn't move. But Sudarshan Chakra moved. And Sudarshan Chakra came and chopped the fiery demon and then pursued Durvasa Muni. Because Durvasa Muni had offended a great devotee. Many things happened, many things happened. Durvasa Muni came back, fell at the feet of Ambarish, at the insistence of Lord Vishnu that he do so, and beg his forgiveness. So what did Ambarish Maharaj do? He said to Durvasa Muni not only forgiveness, but if there's any merit that I've gained in the course of my life, that piety I bestow completely upon you. The one who was trying to kill him is now the recipient of the fullness of the austerities and the piety, the fruits of piety of Ambarish, because he's free from pride. Another classic example, many of you are familiar with this one. This is a situation in heaven when there was a big festival, an Indra Puja festival in heaven. And Indra was so filled with himself as the Indra festival was going on, that when the Brahmana priest of the demigods entered, Brahaspati, he just ignored him. And he had a problem because of that pride, a big problem. Indra had a big problem. Something a little more contemporary. These are just examples of how pride destroys good things. There's a nice passage in Chaitanya Charitamrita, a pastime of Lord Chaitanya, whose painting is at the bottom. And one time, one very learned Brahmana came to visit in Puri, and he came to know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was residing in Puri, so he went to meet him. And he knew that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a reputed scholarly person, so he shared with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I've written a commentary on the Bhagavatam, and that commentary on the Bhagavatam surpasses the commentary of Sridhar Swami. And that was a prideful statement. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, anyone who considers himself superior to the Swami is a prostitute. Swami meaning not just Sridhar Swami, but the master. The one who is disloyal to the master is like a prostitute. So Balabhata was chastened, and he understood what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was doing, and he became a follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One more. There's a few more, but I'll just do one more. This is a godbrother of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's spiritual master. Ramchandra Puri was visiting Jagannath Puri. Ramchandra Puri was a godbrother of Ishwar Puri. Both were disciples of Madhavendra Puri. Exalted, Paramahansa Vaishnav. And this Ramachandra Puri criticized Madhavendra Puri foolishly, because Madhavendra Puri was in a mood of ecstasy, like the mood of the gopis feeling ecstasy in their mood of separation from Krishna. And Ramchandra Puri came and spoke in such a way, why are you doing like this? What kind of worship is this? Never heard of this. He insulted, because of his ignorance, and finding fault with Madhavendra Puri. So Madhavendra Puri sent him away. He said, I don't want to see you ever again. If I die seeing your face, I'll go to hell. You go wherever you want, do whatever you want, but I don't want to see you ever again. So he went and continued his business of finding fault. Ramchandra Puri, again, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's spiritual master's godbrother, and he couldn't find any fault with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he was like wanting to find a fault. So one day, the painting is showing, he saw some ants crawling on the floor. And so he found a fault. Aha! You're eating too many sweets. You've attracted ants by eating too many sweets. What kind of sannyasi are you? Mahaprabhu didn't say, my dear Ramchandra Puri, look around, there's ants everywhere. It has nothing to do with what I eat or don't eat. The ants are everywhere looking for something. But he didn't say that. Just pride can cause big problem. And because of time, I'm not going to go into it. There's a very interesting passage where a very elevated Vaishnava fell because he offended a Vaishnavi, without the detail. And he was an elevated person, but by pride, he criticized a very elevated Vaishnavi, and he completely fell from his devotional practice. Just a few more slides. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, there's a discussion of Narada Muni is visiting in Dwarka. And he's at the home of Vasudeva, because Vasudeva was conducting a big festival, and Brahmanas had come, and so there was an opportunity for Vasudeva to ask some questions of Narada. And the instruction here, O king, one who accepts the process of devotional service will never be affected by pride. Even while running with eyes closed, he will never trip or fall. And there's commentary that explains what that is to say. Here's Sridhar Swami explaining. Closing one's eyes refers to being in ignorance of standard Vedic literature. As it is said, the Shruti and Smriti scriptures are the two eyes of the Brahmanas. Lacking one of them, a Brahman is half blind, and deprived of both, he is considered completely blind. So even if one doesn't have full knowledge of Shruti and Smriti, but they're engaged in bhakti, they'll never fall if their heart is free from pride. That's the importance of this little reference. During Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, and one more little pastime, he traveled in South India. Many of you know the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He accepted sannyas at the age of 24. His mother requested that he not go to Vrindavan because she may never hear of him again. But please go to Puri because Krishna is in Puri also. So go to Puri, and devotees from Bengal go every year for Rath Yatra, and at least I'll get news of you each year. So he agreed. He didn't go to Vrindavan. He went to Puri. And he made his residence in Jagannath Puri. And after some months, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made an excuse that I want to go find my brother, Vishwarup. He's somewhere in South India and I want to find him. So please permit me to leave Puri. And he left for 2 years. Purpose was not just finding Vishwarup, but giving Krishna Bhakti to one and everyone, giving the chanting of the holy name specifically. So one time he was visiting in Sri Rangam, and he stayed in Sri Rangam for 4 months of the rainy season during that year. So when he went to Sri Rangam, many things happened. One of the things that happened was outside the temple, there was a very poor Brahmana. And he had an instruction from his spiritual master to read Bhagavad Gita once every day. And there was a problem. He was not so literate or illiterate. But he sat near the temple, mumbling, running his fingers across the page, and crying. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, my dear Brahmana, what is it that you're reading that makes you cry like this? And the Brahmana said, please don't tease me, it's not nice. Because many others would tease him, knowing that he's illiterate, but he's sitting there reading Bhagavad Gita. He said, no, I see that you're crying. I mean, you're experiencing something. And the illiterate Brahmana replied, I don't understand Bhagavad Gita because I can't read. I'm illiterate. But I see the cover picture of Krishna driving the chariot of Arjuna and leading him into battle and speaking the message of Bhagavad Gita. And when I see this love that Krishna has for Arjuna, I can't help but cry. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, you are the true scholar of Bhagavad Gita. Because of this pridelessness, it opens the door for genuine devotion, or pride blocks the door for genuine devotion. So it's a very important item to become free from. This is our last slide. This is humility in Rupa Goswami's Padyavali. What's Padyavali? Padyavali is a collection of writings. Some are his own, some are others, some are even unknown authors that Rupa Goswami particularly liked. He gathered them all and published it in one book called Padyavali. So here's a description of humility. O Lord, no one is more merciful than you, and no one is more pathetic than I. I am very lowly and fallen, O Lord Yadunath. Please reflect on my case and do whatever is appropriate. Very similar to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching. Very similar. Here's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Shikshastaka 8. This is the last slide. Karotu va yata tata va vedadhatu lampato. He can do whatever he likes, but still he alone and no one else is the worshipful Lord of my heart. So pride blocks the door for entering into bhakti, or the house of the entrance into the Lord's kingdom. And pridelessness is the direction that we want to go. So I wanted to take some of your time and discuss this topic of pride, because it's so fundamental for spiritual practice. And its opposite, the humility is essential, and pride destroys. The scriptures are filled with nice explanations, and we can experience it in our everyday life as well. Prideful persons have struggles unnecessarily. The Krishna's kind. Krishna sometimes put those prideful persons into some difficulty, and the difficulty smashes their pride. And then what's left? Just taking shelter. And that's the starting point anyways. Dainya, or humility. Amanitvam adambitvam. Okay. Let's see if there's some discussion. Now, I chose this topic because my impression was that most of the persons present are practicing devotees, because yesterday were a lot of people that aren't, or not yet, practicing devotees. But looking around the room, you're all pretty much in that category. So hopefully this is relevant topic for you. You have something?
Very nice topic. Thank you, Maharaj. As a practicing devotee, sometime when we are doing the services, you get praise, or you did wonderful service. And sometimes it may go through and become a pride.
Yes.
So how do we handle that?
You transfer the praise to someone above you. Have you read Brihat Bhagavatamrita? Have you read Brihat Bhagavatamrita? Not. Part 1 is the answer to your question, because it's Narada Muni. The storyline is Narada Muni is sent by some brahmanas to explore who is the greatest recipient of the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And he goes to this one, that one, that one, that one. Each time he says, you. And they say, no, no, no. Here's my disqualification, but you want to find somebody qualified, go to that person. So some praise comes. Krishna can make even a fool do something that looks nice. Or, because the devotees that trained me so nicely, now I'm able to do something instead of just make a mess. Or give credit where credit is due, is the principle. And don't let it stick. It's not a good idea. It's impersonal just to say no, 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 no. Then you're shutting them down. That's not. It's beneficial that bhakti is praised, but I'm just the instrument. The one who's deserving the praise is our founder Acharya or my guru, or Krishna's so kind he can even make a fool do something that looks nice, but you should see what's inside. It's a mess. So I'm trying to become purified. It depends, but don't let it stick and just pass it on. Give credit where credit is due. I was wandering around in some dark place, and my spiritual master found me and cleaned me and gave me some service. So if you see something wonderful, praise him. And there's so many others that he has transformed, so he's the praiseworthy one, not me. I'm trying to my limited capacity. Anyway, you don't have to say all those things, but the main point is don't let it stick. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Oh.
Thank you for the instructive class. My question is regarding the Manashiksha shloka, where it is said, attraction towards the mantra, confidential mantra given by Guru. So why the mantra is referred as confidential here? Is it Gayatri or Hare Krishna mantra?
Why not? Well, Hare Krishna is not confidential. I mean, the meaning is confidential, but the mantra is not confidential. But the other mantras, the Gayatri mantras, they're confidential. That's the meaning of that statement.
Attraction towards not Hare Krishna mantra, but
No, don't do that. He's not saying don't be attracted to Hare Krishna mantra, be attracted to the Gayatri mantras. He's not saying that. So don't put words in his mouth. He's not saying that. The confidential meaning of Hare Krishna you can share in certain circles, but it's not when we go out to the public and instruct the public about the confidential meaning of the Hare Krishna mantra. Okay?
Thank you.
Yes. Right here. Right over here.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
My question is more in a work setting. In a professional setting,
okay.
Yeah. If you're in a somewhat of a managerial role, if you manifest that humility, it can also be taken as a form of weakness. How do you set that balance?
Humility from a manager's role is a strength, not a weakness. Now, people may think here's weakness. And people who think here's weakness, some persons want to take advantage. and to manipulate or do, so in the material world that goes on. Therefore, what should you do depends on the person and the circumstance. You know that classic story that Narada and the cobra? Without the story. Sometimes you have to, the cobra was being humble, so people were taking advantage. And Narada said, I didn't say you can't show your hoods. So, depending upon the circumstance, it's not like a regular part of your repertoire, but if circumstance calls for it, you can be very strong. But the mood shouldn't be, defeat the other person or protect yourself, either way. It's just called for by circumstance. In order that something, this requires the display of some, external display of strength. So you do. And sparingly. Because in the long run, a leader, a manager or leader that has the quality of humility is going to attract voluntary service more likely than someone who's arrogant and boastful and proud, and it may get the job done, but it's not going to have a good outcome down the road. Whereas somebody that's genuinely, as circumstance requires being strong, but as otherwise being very generous with a soft heart. And so, yes, persons may take advantage. Because here's a weak person, let me take advantage. So you show strength when it's needed, but you have still maintained a soft heart is your general disposition. And good leaders are like that. I mean, just thinking of this because it happened today, this consulate general, very humble man. And somebody that knows him said, he's the youngest consulate general in the whole system. And he's been doing it for 20 years. So someone asked, what time, he was 26 when he started becoming a consulate general, not just in immigration service. So, genuinely humble. So because he's genuinely humble, people may try to take advantage, which is your point. He doesn't depart from his humility, even when of circumstance it has to be strong. Be firm, but humble, as circumstance requires. Anything else? You have something.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. How to deal if somebody is in a mode of pride and mode of passion and trying to flash off or trying to dump this stuff, baggage on you. Like somebody is carrying pride and
Depends.
So how to manage
You
that
smile.
type of situation?
You water off a duck's back and just smile. And they'll try it again, and you just smile, and you try it again and just smile. That's one approach. Just impervious to their dumping technique. And that'll irritate them even more. That's okay. You feel compassion for this person that's behaving like this. There must be a lot of pain inside. And they're acting out the pain that's inside. I feel sorry for the person. You feel compassion for the person. Now, how are you going to respond? You may put up some barriers. You may do many different things. You smile and walk away. You may do many different things. But don't get advised, don't get in a combat mode, because that's what they want. And then I'm going to show that I'm more powerful and have battle with you and the rest of the program. The dog that barks and you bark back. And you get a dog fight. So consider your options depending upon the circumstance. Don't depart from who you really are and what you understand you're meant to be. And then you make choices from that position. Bhaktisiddhanta has this nice saying. I'll get it verbatim and send it to you, but the message goes something like this. Something like this. No one can hurt you unless you hurt yourself. In other words, it's similar to his question. Different, but similar. If you know who you are, and someone is in the process of trying to hurt you, or you perceive that they're trying to hurt you, and you're starting to feel protective because they're trying to hurt you, then Bhaktisiddhanta's advice is, understand no one can hurt you unless you hurt yourself. You choose to hurt yourself by allowing them the privilege of hurting you. But no one can hurt you. It's like Haridas Thakur. You can chop my body into a million little pieces, but you can't hurt me. But that's Haridas Thakur, and we're not Haridas Thakur. But the principle is the same principle. Something else? You're back here. Something.
Maharaj, this is actually a very nice topic. I have a question regarding kids.
Regarding kids?
Kids. We always say that take pride in what you do.
Take pride in what you do.
Yes. So, so is pride has always a negative connotation, or is there a tipping point?
There's a transcendental pride, and there's a material pride. And if parents say, take pride in what you do, you're fostering the material side. Unless you clarify and qualify. Don't be prideful. Don't be prideful. So the position of bhakti is, because Krishna is to be pleased, make your best effort. So rather than saying, be prideful in what you do, change the language. Make your best effort to offer something to Krishna that Krishna will smile. That's the bhakti principle. And then it's not pride, it's the happiness of Krishna. And when I feel that Krishna is becoming happy, supposing I'm humble and I'm thinking I don't do things so nicely, that you can say something to help the child that's like low self-esteem. But tell him to be prideful isn't the cure. It's just it's the other flip side of the coin. Heads or tails. It's material consciousness. Don't foster material consciousness. Is there pride? Yes. Spiritual pride. Hold your head high, because others may say this and say that. Others may come after you because they want to come after you, or they see that you're weak, so they're trying to take. So be strong anyways. Be strong. Where's that? What's the strength? The connection with Krishna. So different, depending upon the circumstance, or depending upon the individual. Encourage in the bhakti direction somehow. And that starts from within yourself. Then you convey that something that's within yourself to your dependents. Children or students or friends or somebody that's struggling with something. It doesn't have to be children. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. Fantastic. I brought with me, I forgot last night, I brought with me some Mahaprasadam from